there's comfort in the familiarity of the dis-ease and chaos.
Yeah.
Totally true.
You know, and that for so many people who've experienced trauma, what they don't realize is that is giving them the illusion of control because they know what to expect in the spree remorse.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
Got a new episode dropping every Monday and Thursday. Please come check it out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
Well, Sabyn, welcome to the Hopeaholics podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Yeah.
I know, where do we even want to start?
I mean, did you guys read the notes?
I
Of course,
did.
I mean, dude.
I didn't get
Yeah.
any notes.
Yeah, no, you didn't.
We get the notes on you.
Yeah.
Emily's our little detective over
Yeah.
there. She gets all the background on people
Yeah, I
before
didn't-
they come on.
I didn't know all this stuff about you, but let's start off with your newest job.
Yeah.
My newest job, which is the best job I've ever had, which is the CEO of the Brigid Recovery, which is a trauma-based residential workshop in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Bowling Green.
Bowling Green.
yeah.
Good
Which
old
is-
Bowling Green.
Which is about an hour north of Nashville, where
Yeah.
I'm from originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love Nashville.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I was sharing with Aurora a little earlier, like I had the privilege of being a client at
Yeah.
the Brigid Recovery.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So,
I love that.
so to be able to like come full
Full-
circle
yeah.
and have that experience, you know, and I knew from the minute that I left there that I wanted to be involved somehow, but I never would have imagined like how it was going to shake out, especially based on, you know, the majority of my previous experience in work.
Yeah, that kind of answered like the question I was going to ask. How did you end up as CEO? But obviously you were a patient first.
Client.
Client.
Yeah, should have been a patient. I have been a patient.
Yeah.
I was a client there.
Okay.
You know, at the time that I went there, you know, I was one of those people like I'm in recovery.
Yeah.
And, you know, just being physically sober was one of those things that was never really enough for me. I always kind of struggled to like get over the hump. And you know, it was 20 years of like in and out and trying to really get this thing. And even living in LA of all places before someone even mentioned the words trauma to me, you know, and not like trauma, like I've had this horrible traumatic thing happen, but that trauma is relative, and the way that it impacts the individual is the way that it impacts that individual, you know, and especially like family of origin trauma. So I found myself there at 2 years sober, again at another place where it was like, am I going to recover, or am I going to blow my life up one more time, you know? And it was an intervention that like changed my life and saved my life. And prior to that point, I'd been working solely in film and music, you know, and but I had a really unhealthy relationship with that. Like my identity was so wrapped up in I have to be this person and I have to make it. You know, and I was telling a guy I work with the other day that like my idea was that if I wasn't somebody, then I was nobody.
Right.
Like that's how peculiar my mental twist was. And so I just did a complete 180, and I was like, well, what do I want to do? Like, what do I know how to do? It's like, I know how to stay sober. I know how to help people. I want to help people. I've had such a transformative experience. And so I dove back into working in recovery, which I had previous experience. So through that, I found my way on the board of the Brigid Recovery. And then, you know, we parted ways with the previous CEO, and I came in on an interim basis just to help kind of steady the ship and make some changes. And, you know, then it became a permanent position.
And what is the really special thing that your center provides that's a little bit different than, say, a traditional substance abuse treatment facility?
Well, we're not dealing with substance abuse. We're dealing only with trauma, family of origin trauma, like complex PTSD and codependency. And we're a non-medical model.
Okay.
So part of that is we're not we're not trying to diagnose the client.
Sure.
You know
Yeah.
this, right? I'm not trying to put you on blast. Like, you know this.
Yeah.
But
Well, no, don't worry about it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna put her on blast
Yeah.
in a minute. Yeah.
yeah, hang tight. We're good.
Yeah,
Getting
exactly.
to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the reason why she's sitting in that
Yeah.
seat today.
Oh, I know. But it's not about a diagnosis,
Yeah.
and it's not about what's wrong with you. It's about what happened to you,
Sure.
you know, and exploring that, and not to, you know, I think a lot of us have things that happen to us, and we don't. For me personally, things happened to me, and it was all about what you did to me, right? And I took it personally, as opposed to, you know, people are imperfect and they make mistakes. And yes, we get affected by those things, but no one's out to get me.
Right.
But it was then my responsibility to take this information, see how it had affected me, and then make a change and forgive other people and forgive myself, you know, and a huge part of what we do at the Bridge is dealing with the idea of shame,
Yeah.
you know, and the shame that we carry. But a lot of the times we're carrying it on behalf of other people, you know, who never had an intention of hurting us. You know, the thing with trauma that I love that I had heard is trauma infects you and it affects you, like moving forward. So getting to the root cause of that and really being freed and not being defined by the ideas or the shortcomings of other people, you know, but
Yeah.
to be able to define who you are
Right.
by yourself, for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, you know, my whole life I was like, I'm going to be who I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you. But it was all in retaliation or response
Totally.
to other people, as opposed to being authentic.
Yeah. And being okay with oneself.
I mean, what else is there to be?
Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Like, I was telling somebody, it's like, somebody was talking to me about this idea of success.
Sure.
And I was like, the most success, actually, this is a lie. My mother said this to me. I got to give her props.
Yeah.
She said, the most successful thing you can ever do and will ever do in this life is be you. Nobody on the planet can be you better than you. And that was like, oh, well, then I have a vested interest in being my authentic self all the time.
Facts.
Word.
Yeah. I mean, that is something that, you know, we can all strive for on a daily basis, right? And to be our authentic self, we have to not worry about what other people are thinking about us and acting how we truly are without that
Right.
Right.
outside influence, because it's hard sometimes, you know. We still, you know, it's like I want to be liked,
Sure.
you know, but more so today, because I've done a lot of healing on myself, is that I want to like myself first, which I can authentically tell you that I like the guy that I am today.
That's freedom.
That's peace. That's happiness.
Yeah.
That's literally what I think the majority of us, I think especially sitting at this table, or I can speak for myself, is like, that's the chase of like picking up a substance or a drink or something to escape my reality of myself, because I don't like how I feel, or I don't like the emotions that are coming, or whatever it may be, so that I can like get out of that. So
Yeah.
to remove that and then to do the work, especially at your facility, of what you're talking about, is where it really lies, because you're only able to have that peace of mind and be okay with oneself when you start to really peel back the onion and look deep within you and go through whatever situations that have occurred and work through them, so that they're not holding you with that guilt, with that shame
Right.
that we carry on ourselves. And a lot of times our imagination runs wild and creates things that aren't even really
Yeah.
necessarily true, or that other people think, or whatever it may have you.
The stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
the good news is nobody's thinking about me.
At all.
The bad news is no one's fucking thinking about me.
Totally. At all.
Still the good news.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, when I talk about the Bridge, and you know, the biggest honor for me of being the CEO there is that, you know, I always felt that it was like the best kept secret in the world. And for me, it was one of those last house on the block scenarios, to where like I was just one of those hard cases that, you know, it wasn't that I was always hitting bottom so hard in terms of like being homeless and losing all this
Sure.
material stuff and the, you know, just aesthetically and materially. It was that internally I was suffering so badly emotionally and especially mentally. I was so afraid to like feel what I was feeling that I would just jump into my head and be in there all the time. And so it was really a life or death errand, but to get to a place where it was like, let's talk about not as what's wrong with you, but what's happened to you, see how it's manifesting and presenting in your life, and then how to heal. And then for me, in my case, whether it's 2 or 4 or 6 weeks or you're there, to be fully immersed in not only getting these tools, but being forced to apply them.
Yes. Action.
Yeah, because in so many instances, it's like, yeah, we might be doing therapy and we might be talking about it. Well, yeah, I can talk to you for an hour
100%.
and I can walk right out the door and undo everything I just spent $250 for this hour to talk shit with no intention of doing it.
And no growth is going to happen. Like, why do you think there's so many self-help books out there? It's like, yeah, many people can read a book and that's great and they're fantastic, but any change that's going to come requires effort and action. So
I stopped reading those books.
So, me too.
And somebody, did you read? I'm like, no, because what I got to is they're all saying the same
yes,
thing.
for sure.
Like, yes, this happened. Okay, now what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing in a lot of the books, the self-help books that I have read, they stay so kind of generic. Like you say, they all say the same thing. The one thing that they've always leave out in most of the books, not all, but most of the books that I've read on self-help is the spiritual part. Because for me, the spiritual component has been such a huge game changer, right?
Oh, yeah.
To rely on a power greater than myself, to trust in that has, it gets me out of the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that like going through and walking through pain isn't difficult or trauma isn't difficult, but man, it's well worth it. The freedom that comes from that, but it is easier than sitting in it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Sitting in it is tough.
Sitting in it is how you end up taking your life.
Yeah.
Because you are so miserable that you think you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it is a dark place to be, and to continuously be so at that place and feel like hopeless. And that's why I love this podcast, because it's based, all we need as humans, I truly believe, is like, I mean, it's in the Bible, a mustard seed. So you just need a little glimmer of hope to like, hold on just for a sec.
Well, I mean, even in my early recovery, it's like, I mean, I really had to like hit a deep bottom
for sure.
to get to the point to be like, hey, I'm gonna
Yep.
I don't trust people anyway.
Yeah.
You want me to trust this thing that I can't see,
Right.
feel, taste, touch, anything, and it was like, I believed that my sponsor believed.
Yes.
And that was all that I needed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've listened to your guys' show a lot. It's like too much probably, but I love it, because it's real talk about real things that matter. And, my story has always been, whether it's in substance abuse or mental health or trauma, that, talking about sitting in it, I can't tell you how many people that I've met who've had long-term sobriety who took their life.
Totally.
Or in some instances, fortunately took that drink because it got them
Yes.
to the point to where they could reset, if they're lucky. I mean, I never encourage that,
Of
because
course.
not everybody makes it back. But so many of the men in my life, and in my sponsorship, family, and recovery community, they, had 5, 10, 20 years, and they hit that spiritual bottom.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I'm always preaching to people, whether they're at the Bridge or anywhere else I've ever been, about making this daily practice,
Daily reprieve that we have.
and not overcomplicating it. It's like, I don't think twice about brushing my teeth or taking a shower or going to the gym or having a meal or having coffee or whatever. So why does this have to be any different? Like, what is it to pick up the phone, to go to a meeting, to say a prayer, to meditate, to read a book,
Yep.
to listen to a podcast, like to invest in yourself, like that's the idea. That was the biggest thing that I got from the Bridge, is this idea of self-care and self-love. I had no idea what that looked. Like going to the gym was about it.
Right.
In like trying to like eat.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like outside of that, it was like, what do you do for you? Crickets. I had no idea. Like I had to learn these things. And they were like, can you try to treat yourself the way you treat your child?
Right.
and nurture yourself the way and that resonated for me. It was difficult, but being that, I remember being there. You'll probably relate to this. Is I was in all sorts of crisis as a client, and they were like, so you're now going to be your own loving parent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you fucking shitting me?
Yeah.
Like that's what this comes to at 43 years later, that now I have to pick up the pieces from some of these people that have like really failed me. And they were like, yes. And the good news is because you have the ability
Yes.
to do that, because no one knows what you need now more than you. And by doing that, it changed the dynamic of my relationships tremendously. And just being able to be of service and not bring all that baggage, and just to be, I always thought I needed to be like famous or successful or so happy,
Totally.
so high. I just wanted to be content.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
I want this to be quiet and be good because I'm stuck with me 24/7. So that's a scary place to be if it's just a mess between my ears, constantly. So it's like that to me now, obviously after like a long time, because I would chase the same thing, whether it's dollar, whether it's something attainable, then you would maybe hopefully achieve it, and then it's like not even
Cool
what
for
you
like
thought.
2 minutes.
Yeah, and then it's on to the next one. So
Yep.
it's like a constant chase.
Yeah.
But that's why I think we're in a fortunate time with podcasts and social media in a positive way, because we're talking about the things that growing up I never heard of about
Right.
the self-care. Like the same with gym and nutrition usually was kind of like the
Yeah,
easiest thing
that's it.
because it's tangible too,
Yeah.
of being able to like see results and feel a little bit better because of the food that you're putting in nutrition wise. But other than that, it's so much more because it's, doing the daily practices like you said,
Yeah.
because I've seen it in rooms like back in Texas, there was an individual that had 20 years, and after a month later, after I started going to the meeting, that came back and took his life. And it's like it's very easy to do that because just because you remove the substance, that's one thing, and it's great. That's just the beginning.
I tell people all the time, and I had to change some of the wording when I would read 12-step literature.
Sure.
Is I have to admit on a daily basis that I'm powerless over my alcoholism. Like, that's the thing that will kill me dead, stone cold sober.
Yep.
And I don't know about you guys, like, this is just my story. I was 10 times crazier when I got sober.
Oh my God, dude, yes.
Like,
Yes.
alcoholism and addiction is the only disease in the world that's like, we're going to take your medication away from you, and then you need to just pray this away.
Yeah.
And you're like, come again?
Yeah.
Like, I got to go spend an hour with these goons and then
Yes.
pray about it? Yeah. But, it took me a while to get a grip on that insanity and to realize what I was dealing with. And again, what were the underlying causes and conditions that were contributing to this? Because I just thought, again, there was something wrong with me rather than something that had happened to me, and realizing there was a reason for that, and knowing that there was a reason, then there became a solution.
Totally.
And then of course, it required action.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's great about having, because I used to be so bothered that I had the disease and had to do this and had to go to meetings and like all this stuff, like woes me.
Yeah.
However, now the tools are something where I truly believe everybody would benefit from, because it's so nice to be able to have that kind of arsenal to be able to look at oneself and take accountability, and we have control over like how you respond to others.
Right.
And that was kind of eye-opening in itself, but also being able to unpack a lot of stuff that you kind of stuffed down for a long time, and not realizing the direct effect it has not only on oneself, but regardless, it spills into other things, whether it's business or relationships or friendships or family. And that's just a cycle that continues and continues and continues without you having even the wherewithal to realize like what is kind of happening until you kind of get in.
It's like being on negative autopilot.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, why am I driving straight into this wall? It's like, well, because I'm driven by this ism, that I don't realize how deeply ingrained
Totally.
it is in me, or that trauma, or, it's fueling you, and until you can just let that heat simmer down, and get it to a manageable level where you can start like rummaging
Yep.
through it and seeing what it is and discarding the things that aren't helpful for you. You are just, you're in a collision course with life, and everything about you is kind of, for me anyway, it was very contentious, and very challenging. I'm not an easy person to deal with when I'm untreated.
Oh, neither. I think none of us are. We're a rare variety. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't get the vibe that anybody in this room or table is like a walk in the park when they're not a
Nah.
therapist.
Yeah.
No offense.
No, I mean, I'm a pain in the
Yeah.
I'm a real. You could ask Rayanne, because her husband had to deal with me for a bit
Yeah.
in my insanity.
Yeah.
You know, I was the guy that you were talking about just a little bit ago that hit that spiritual low in sobriety, and I stuck a needle back in my arm.
Yeah.
And thank God that I made it back.
Yeah.
Because if it was now, I wouldn't have made it back because fentanyl.
Right.
Yeah.
There 8 years ago when I got sober again, there was no fentanyl.
Right.
It hadn't really, heroin was still all out on the streets. Out here in California, at least, there is no heroin.
Yeah.
None. They haven't done a heroin bust in that had the Orange County Sheriff on, and they haven't done a heroin bust like in 2 years.
Wow.
Like a major heroin bust. But their fentanyl and meth busts are
Out of control.
off the charts. Off the charts. What is a typical, if there is a typical, I don't know if that's the right word, client that comes to the bridge?
There's not one. There's not one. There, every single person when I was there, we are all completely different in every single way. And the only thing we have in common is that we have some form of trauma. But that's everybody in the world.
Is everybody also struggling with substance abuse, or is it just strictly like you're just
there
dealing
was
with it?
some people there, but not everybody
Okay.
there was struggling with substance abuse. So there is people there. Like there was a girl there. She had 11 years sober.
Uh-huh.
She was there in 11 years sober.
Yeah.
So, and then there was somebody who was 30 days sober off alcohol.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's such a wide variety.
How did you find the bridge?
Rayanne.
Amazing.
Tell me about it.
Rayanne Marquez.
Rayanne Marquez.
Who's hiding in the
Yeah.
corner?
Yeah,
Marquez
she's right
and
behind me.
Associates behind us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Brendan.
Shout out.
Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say right now. I just lost my train of thought.
Everybody has trauma.
Everyone has trauma.
But everybody does have trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is our.
It's case by case. Everyone's going to be affected differently.
Right. There's nobody. I mean, like Aurora was saying, like for us, like we're obviously not a substance abuse treatment center, so there are people who already have sobriety who are coming to us, or if they have struggled with sobriety, we make sure that they have a certain amount. They're obviously going to go to a detox or res or maybe an IOP, PHP before they come to us. But
Yeah.
it's usually people who have struggled with substance and, in my case, like haven't gotten over the hump.
Yeah.
Or people who are just, like experiencing some sort of like emotional failure to launch.
Yeah.
Where they're so plagued and troubled by that dis-ease inside.
Yeah.
And not just being part of the flow of life and being comfortable in their own skin and wondering what is wrong with them. What is wrong with me? Why are people wondering what was wrong with me rather than, again, what has happened to us, and immersing them in this work, is the thing that separates us from any place for that matter, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love that because it's all the positive, especially with anybody listening and they're at that kind of bottom or that low, regardless whether it's with substance or just at the failure to launch, and live their life to their fullest potential, which is, I do believe, is in every single individual, is made for something to contribute and to like feel fulfilled. is that there's a solution.
There is always a solution.
And that's what's amazing.
That is the most important part, you know, that there is always help available.
Totally.
You know? And I was definitely one of those people. And we all meet people who they truly believe this will not work for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I get that. I really do get that. And I know, and I'm sure you can attest to this, it's like, if it's worked for us,
yeah,
it can work for anybody, and it will work for anybody, but it requires a certain amount of commitment and action. And I've always approached this work as a life or death errand.
Totally.
And I think when you have that approach and you have that willingness to approach it that way, it makes all the difference in the world, because you start to see it as a gift rather than a chore.
Yep.
And that's the great thing about recovery for me, is I don't see it as this, like, oh, I'm sentenced to doing this work. I'm like, thank God I get to do this.
I used to think I was.
You know, you're probably not supposed to say this being like in charge of a place, but I'm like, I'm not a motherfucker all day long.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to just fire off an email because you caught me, you know, before I had my coffee. It's like, I can pause, I can be considerate, I can be kind, I can be thoughtful, and just be a human.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not be so triggered by every single thing that happens to me, you know. And back to your question too, it's like, you know, we have people coming to us who are 18 to 75,
mm-hmm.
you know, and they might be on the front end of dealing with childhood trauma, you know, of various types, you know, you name it, we've seen it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know, or they might be, you know, in the, you know, last portion of their life and having ignored this,
Yeah.
but don't want to spend the next 25 years not being able to enjoy their grown children and grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so it's like, you got those two ends of the spectrum and everything in between you can think of, you know? I've never seen one client there that was even remotely similar to the next.
Yeah. I was there with, I think she was 74.
Oh, wow.
Had some gnarly trauma. Like, she was the only other one besides me whose story was fucking horrible. It was worse than mine.
Oh, wow.
And she spent her whole life
Bound by it, huh?
Yeah. And now she finally is getting through it.
Mm-hmm.
And she has an amazing husband. That story is crazy too.
Yeah.
She looks like she's glowing.
Mm-hmm.
She's an amazing lady. And even after all she's been through. And the bridge literally changed her whole perspective on herself too. And that's what I wanted to get back to, was that whole the inner child meditation that you were talking about earlier, about how you have to parent yourself.
Right.
So you do that in the first 2 weeks that you're there. They have you do the inner child meditation, and that meditation, like, it sounds like almost, when I talk about it, like, it almost sounds kind of corny. Like, it really kind of does. Like, if I told somebody, oh, I did a inner child meditation that changed my life, No, that sounds corny as hell.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't. Like, it literally like changed my whole outlook on how I look at myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes you back, like, throughout the years. Obviously it's different depending how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
But mine, you know, you go through your adulthood life and then teenage years and then your younger years, and you find a year that you kind of take yourself back to. And in my mind, it took me back to when I was 6 years old, and I was in my kindergarten in the sandbox, which was like a sandbox swing set thing. And I remember what I was wearing. I had on this pink shirt and blue jeans, and I had my blonde hair. And I like almost want to cry just like talking about it. And it sounds so stupid, but like, they have you go and like talk to this little kid that's you. And like when I was talking to this little kid, like, or me, like, one of the first things that, like, I said to myself that just came up in my head was like, if you're me, like, why don't you look like me? Like, why do you look so different? And like that, and I don't know why that came up for me, because I did change myself in so many ways. Like, I have blonde hair naturally. I have a lot of tattoos, obviously, now. I have like lip filler and all these things, and like, I had to tell myself, like, you know, the world kind of changes you, and the things that you go through changes you. And like, she also was like, asked me like, why isn't my mom here? And like, that's something that like really affected me, my mom not being in my life. It really did. Because it always had me wondering, like, why wasn't I good enough? Like, why am I not good enough for my mom to be here? But it was like that I had to realize that like she wasn't good enough for me to be there. And I had to tell myself like that I'm like taking care of you. And when you look at yourself as that little kid that was hurt by people, it like changes you, because you want to protect that little kid like you would protect your own child. And I don't have children, so like I don't know really what it's like to love your own child, but I know how I would. And I should, and we all should love ourselves how we would love our own children, and want to protect ourselves how we would protect our own child. And it just totally changed my life and my perspective on myself and the way I have relationships now. And like, I just remember like all of us are sitting there and like we're just bawling, like, you know, because your eyes are closed and you're in a dark room and stuff. And does anybody else hear that?
I totally hear it.
Yeah, it's a horn.
Oh, okay.
Which I feel like is magnified.
Can you hear it on is that going to be on the podcast?
And where is it at?
I think it's
in the parking lot.
Wow.
Andrew, can you go see whose car is?
Yeah, it's actually really crazy.
So yeah, and it sounds so stupid, but like it really like changed my life.
But what's crazy is like you saying that it sounds so stupid it totally isn't, but I get what you're saying, because even walking into a 12-step room, I was like, the cliches sound so stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Like that's dumb. That sounds stupid, you know, but it's, or like easy does it.
Yeah.
Or like one day at a time. It's like, yeah, they might sound stupid, but to who? Because they work and it's real.
Yeah.
And like that meditation that you just did took like incredible.
Yeah.
Because it's something that was probably in your subconscious without you even realizing that it was actually spilling into and affecting you into your adulthood where you are at this current moment, until you actually went to the bridge and was able to actually unpack that. Yeah. Because that would have held shackles on you into future relationships, etc., if you didn't do the inner meditation, inner child work. So to me, nothing sounds stupid, because those simplistic things work, and that's why they're there for a reason.
The inner child rescue. This is a very specific meditation in phase 2, you know. And the thing it's so not stupid at all.
Yeah.
It does feel corny, and it's like you're laying there and you're all like, you know, okay, whatever. And it's just different. But you know, the thing that's strange about it is we don't, for whatever reason, we miss this nurturing element at various points in our time. And then the world's like telling you, well, no, you can't still participate in these childlike activities.
Right.
You can't still nurture that inner child. You can't still explore and figure out what it is to play. You know, it's like that's what we do when we're children. We play, we get into our imagination, and then it's like, no, you've got to be serious. You've got to focus. It's like, yes, like we mature, but we still have to incorporate those parts of our inner children, because that's the part of us that is the purest and needs the most nurturing, you know. And we get there, and it is like for you and for me and for so many people, it is a very emotional experience to have that imagery of that really kind of innocent version of yourself before life happens to you, and know that is still there. You know, that is part of you. You know, and to embrace that and to incorporate that in who you are and what you're doing right now. It's like, you know, that's such a huge part of the work that we do at the Bridge, is to tap into that genuine, childlike, pure part of ourselves, you know, and cherish that and carry it with you wherever you go. And to, like you were saying, to protect that, to be that maternal to be that maternal person that you might not have had. For me, it was a paternal person. My father wasn't there, and it took a lot of that kind of work to turn the corner and realizing that didn't have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
But also, one of the greatest gifts I got out of that was, well, if I don't do this work and if I don't change, then I'm going to be just like that.
Right.
And that's priceless.
Yeah.
It's painful. It's very painful, but it's priceless.
Yeah.
And I feel like now more than ever, with just going through the process and how it goes from year to year, and we're the lucky ones, because I feel like we're beasts, we're savages, we're exactly what we're supposed to be. A human is relentless. Mm-hmm. We persevere, and we are capable of doing things beyond our wildest imagination, because that's God. I can do anything, and so it's like that is what the program and working at this thing has given and instilled in me, which I think is priceless as well. Because even though we go through in sobriety or in life in general, it's messy. Things happen. Things out of you can't control everything, and it's going to be, peaks and valleys, and that you're able to walk through anything, and that is amazing, because a lot of people don't have that because things break them.
It's called emotional stability, emotional sobriety. See, the thing is that, and I want to go back to Aurora, because she is my daughter, and I was wondering if the child was blonde. The inner child was blonde.
Of course she was blonde.
But everybody has an inner child,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has an inner child, and the parental instincts, I have children, right? And I had to protect her from her mom. I've had her since she was 36 days old, because at 32 days old, her mom dropped her in a swimming pool high on benzodiazepines, and had her best friend at the time not been a good-hearted person and called me right away and told me what happened, who knows how our life would have ended up, or her life would have even, if she would have had a life. So my paternal instincts kicked in. But I always left the door open. I had an opportunity through court to close that door on her, because the judge, she didn't show up for our last court date, and she had a positive drug test, and they asked if I wanted her parental rights revoked. And I said no, because I too had hope that she would get sober, and because I did. Yeah. But she didn't, and she would call once or twice a year on her birthday ish. Maybe I have some regrets, because Aurora talks about a little bit. We do a podcast together now. And she's told me that she found toys that her mom sent her that I never gave to her, because I think in my mind I kind of wanted her to forget about her mom. Because she never showed up. And I can go back to when you were 5, 6, and 7, waiting around, talking about your mom, and hoping she was going to show up on a white horse. Which is kind of sad for me too, to think about it, to come be in your life. And I just knew it was never going to happen, because by that time it had just been years. Yeah. Years had gone by. And, I've always tried to be the mom and the dad to her. But then when she was 9, I relapsed. And then when she was 14, about to go to high school, is my biggest regret. And I do have regrets in life. I regret shoving a needle back in my arm when she needed me the most. And we, that's why we started a podcast called Spit and Image. little commercial for the Spit and Image podcast, because it's a time for her and I to heal. And I do want to say that I see a different person in you than the girl that left for the bridge. You know, enough to where I trusted her when she got back, and I trust you to give her a job, you know, at my place. And I don't know if you know this, but your aunt was telling me the other day that your pre-screens are phenomenal, that you're doing an incredibly good job. And I want to let you know that you're doing an incredibly good job.
Thank you. And
like, I'm not one to tell somebody they're doing a good job.
No, you definitely aren't. He's not a that boy kind of person.
I don't. You get I mean, I get this from my mom, but you get your paycheck.
Yeah.
You know,
you're employed. You have a job.
But like, you know, I have higher expectations and higher standards for my children if they're employed for me, because the work ethic that I have, like, I don't work whether I'm getting paid minimum wage or I'm getting paid
same effort.
Yeah.
Same effort.
For sure.
I get that.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to earn the right to have a higher salary.
Mm-hmm.
However long that takes.
I think, can I say something?
Yeah.
I think because I've joined this family like almost 2 years ago now. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, walking into everything and like how this podcast was created and kind of really consuming myself here and watching it kind of progress, I got to meet Aurora day one that I came, and then to see where she is now, to me, is why this shit sets my soul on fire. Because the woman that I met then, to unrecognizable from, and that's a testament to you having the courage to seek the help that you need to get well. And that to me is everything, because people, when you're in the depths of it, making a phone call, reaching out, and really being honest and asking someone like, I'm not doing well. Mm-hmm. That is like the biggest weight. Everything else is difficult too, but that initial first thing to admit is very difficult. Yeah. And so to just kind of see her, and this is why I think the podcast and everything is really a huge blessing, because it creates a platform for others to see, like, obviously father-daughter, right? And they had to walk through a lot of things when you being a kid, and kind of that whole, it's a great story because now they're here. So it just is another testament of, like, it doesn't matter how you were raised, what had happened. It's like you get to make the decision to grow and to get well and to get better. And then you can see the outcome of the solution of what can happen. And it's like, for me, I've watched such a freaking butterfly all of a sudden and just like miraculously appear with her having the space, because I mean, I know Chad and he's there, but doesn't push like sobriety or this, that. He let her kind of, you know, be as she wishes, and the time will come and hopefully she follows the flame, and she has, you know, on her own like timing, which is everything, because it really takes every individual to have the willingness to do the work themselves, because nobody can do it for somebody else. And so to me, to watch you and then step into the role you have, I mean, you hit me up last night talking about an admit. Like, I told Chad about the other one with Nem a couple weeks back, just being like, dude, Aurora's killing it. Like, because you'll hit me on the side, and that's what this is all about. Because you were not well. You weren't good. No. You were at a dark place, and you're able to, not saying that you don't have your moments today, but I don't even recognize the same person.
Yeah, I don't.
And that's a testament of you doing the work.
No, it's totally different. I just went to lunch with my friend yesterday, and she was like, dude.
Bitch, who are you?
Yeah. You know, and I can go back to you saying that it's scary to ask for help. Yeah. I didn't ask my dad directly for help. Mm-hmm. It took me crashing my car in the middle of the desert, 70 miles away from the closest major city, to finally asked for help. And I asked my dad. I was talking to Cindy, your colleague, and I've known her since I was a baby, so like I don't feel uncomfortable talking to her. And it just so happened that where I crashed my car was right next to where I got it towed was right next to the Ken Seeley Communities, which is where Cindy works. And I was just talking to her about getting my car towed, and I broke down to her and I was like, I need help. Like, I need help. Like, why am I in the middle of the desert right now? Why the fuck am I in the middle of the desert?
But I mean, you know, the and back to what you said, like I can't force somebody to ask for help. I've always been very open, and like, you know, when somebody's ready, I'm there. You know, I'm there. Because, and especially my kids, man, you know, and it was not very long before we had her set up and going to the bridge, you know. But it just reminds me of my favorite saying, and I say this all the time, and Natalie probably gets tired of it, but or Natalie loves the saying. But when the pain of remaining the same outweighs the fear of change, man, that's when we pick up the phone. When that pain and unfortunately, some of us have really high tolerances for emotional pain. Physical pain, I stub my toe and I'm on the ground crying like a baby. But like, you know, it takes me being in the fetal position for days, and sometimes even then, I'm stubborn. You know, and I hope that this podcast, in the Spit and Image podcast, in the death of Justin, teaches people to reach out, that it's okay, that you don't have to go to the depths that some of us have gone to say, hey, I'm ready to change.
And you're not alone.
And it is never too late.
Ever. Never.
It's never too early, and it's never too late.
I mean, look at the 74-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's never too late to change.
Never.
You know? And you have so, I mean, I've thought that since I was 16. It's too late.
Sure. Yeah.
It's too
late.
I'm a hopeless cause.
Yeah, totally.
And
I feel that.
You know, and it's just not true, you know? And now, I mean, it's something you were saying earlier. It's like, you know, I was so addicted to the drama.
Yeah.
The chaos.
But so, and life is going to happen.
Right.
But I'm so addicted now to protecting my peace and not being an active participant in the drama of life. Things are going to happen. Life happens. I can show up for life events. But what I can't show up for, and what I don't have the same tolerance for, is when I am creating the chaos. And to have the ability to pause and refrain from doing that, you know, and even when things happen that are activating, being able to, okay, oh, this is like an old wound. Like right now, right here, it's like, Chad just asked me if I had a nice day. There's no subliminal.
Right.
You know? Dad's not saying, do your home. You know, it's like, dude, like we're okay. Like everything's okay. And to have to be back at like homeostasis, and to have my nervous system restored, and my thought life and my emotional life, so that I am responding to life rather than reacting to life.
Yeah.
You know, is priceless.
Right.
You know?
I mean, that's actually one of the best sayings right there, man. Responding to life instead of reacting to life.
Yeah.
And that's all your perception.
For sure.
You know, like the other thing they always tell you, right? You go to treatment and they're like, the one thing you have to change is everything.
Right.
But the reality is, the one thing that we have to change is our perception.
Yeah.
And when our perception changes, everything else around us changes.
Right. And you were saying with being a father and obviously being a daughter, it's like, it's just been amazing to see in so many people's lives and in my own life, like when I'm focused on what's in my hula hoop,
Yeah.
like I have no idea the ripple effect
100%.
that is going to have on other people. Not because I'm trying to force feed recovery. Like I've never done anything anybody's told me I had to do. But when I wanted to start to do it for me, you know, that attraction rather than promotion piece
Love it.
showed up. And it's like people see, you know, you're a different person. You
radiate it.
You have this magnetic energy and people want to know. And like you said, if you come to me and you ask me what I'm doing and can I help you, I will drop anything and everything I'm doing. But if you want to fuck around and like, you know, waste my time and try to drag me down with you, I won't participate in that. Why? Not because I'm a jerk, but because I have boundaries.
Yeah.
Which I learned at places like the Bridge.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to work harder than you. Like,
Hell
that's
no.
crazy. So I totally agree. It's like, if you want to ride, let's ride.
And I tell people, I was like, I have what you want.
Yeah.
You don't have anything.
I say that line all the time. That's like my go-to, for sure.
Like nothing, right?
Yeah.
Because I have peace.
Yes.
And that's, you can't.
Some people want to destroy that, man. They see it.
Oh yeah.
They'll see you. They'll be like,
yeah.
Peace.
I'm coming for you.
I'm chaos, motherfucker. You know?
Hold my bag.
That's why I wear running shoes.
Yeah.
Not having it. But people are like that because it's threatening, it's intimidating, it's scary, and you know, misery likes company.
Yes,
and I relate to that.
Yes.
You know, I relate to always having the problem.
Yep.
But you know, even what you were saying, and you know, you get to show up as a different version of yourself, like for yourself, for your friends, for your father, for this community.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I had the same experience. You know, like I recently I just went to visit my mom. She had some things going on, and to be able to be like nurturing and caring and loving towards my mother, and have an interaction and a time spent together that we probably had not had in.
Sure.
Neither of us could remember, you know, but to be that version of myself, you know, and to be that for her and for my son and other, you know, not that I'm far from perfect, but you know, I'm not bringing all this baggage with me all the time anymore. You know, like I got to leave that in Bowling Green. That's why I say we got 120 acres there. Bring all your baggage. We will burn that shit. Yeah. And you
literally
go on your merry way, free and clear. You know?
We literally burn it.
Yeah, we will bonfire that shit.
Awesome.
It's kind of funny because like I have this weird vision of the place in my head that it's probably not even close to what it looks like.
It's the woods. Just picture the woods.
The woods?
Some creeks.
Well,
I was in the woods of Kentucky.
that's amazing.
Though.
Are they like cabins?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wood cabins?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, they had to build it based on the material out there. The founders, Paul and Carol, they built the original cabin that they lived in and ran groups in.
Smaller.
And very small, right?
Yeah.
And then they built the lodge with like volunteers that now
it's a non-profit organization.
Yeah.
How long can you stay?
People stay on average from 2 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Sometimes people stay a little
I
bit
had
longer.
One of my phase mates, she stayed 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have stayed forever. But I did want to say a couple things, though. If either of you would ever love to come to our professionals program, which is it's our core program consolidated into a week, we would love to have
Say less. I'm there.
free of charge. And
Even
also,
better.
I know that you guys have a pretty large fan base, and in honor of Aurora and you, we'd like to offer a scholarship to our core program for any one of your listeners of your choosing that would like to attend our core program. You have to clear a pre-screen. There are terms and conditions, but it would be our honor to offer that to you guys and to your listeners and to somebody who you feel that could benefit from that.
Wow.
Nice.
That's amazing.
We'll have to figure out how to do that.
I want to.
Oh yeah.
I want to talk more about it though, just so people are kind of like aware.
Yeah.
Of like what this program.
I'm gonna sit back.
Wait, and actually, before you go into that, I just wanted to touch just on one thing. You're the CEO of the Bridge, right?
I am.
So it's like how beautiful from where you as a person, prior to even stepping in and now becoming the CEO of this facility, is to watch something like a father-daughter right here have the type of relationship that they have today, and the work that Aurora has done at your facility to get to where she's at this very moment, and to watch it actually blossom in real time.
It's why I do it.
For sure.
Know? And it's because I did not know that change like that was possible.
Yeah.
And I experienced I experienced it personally.
For sure.
And then it gave me the ability to see it so clearly. And like in AA, it was like, well, I'd see it in you before I saw it in me.
Yeah.
And at the bridge, I was experiencing it personally, and then I could see the gift that other people had received, and being able to, I mean, look, we've been there 53 plus years.
Wow.
Like my goal is for us to be there another 53 years and to help 10 times as many people.
Sure.
Because that's why we're doing this, right? Everything that we do, if you're not doing something to help other people, like what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean that's I couldn't agree with you more. That's our primary purpose as human beings, is to help another human being, be maximum service to God and others.
And it's funny because if you'd asked me like 5 years ago, like what would gonna make you happy, it'd be like I'd have a Grammy, I'd have a house on the beach, I'd have a Ferrari, and I'd have an Oscar.
Me and you align pretty well.
And those things are like film and music are things that I'm passionate about, and I still get the opportunity to work in. But I would have sold myself short if I'd put all my stock in those things making me happy.
And you wouldn't even have achieved.
No, you wouldn't have been happy.
Right, that's the kicker.
What?
I was shooting dope in a Lamborghini Gallardo. Yeah,
that's dope.
Yeah.
No,
it wasn't. And you want to know
what? No, it was not.
You want to know what one of my posts used to be?
I was snorting crack in a studio apartment. I was too vain to smoke it back then.
What was your post?
What was it? It said,
oh God.
Was it? There's a saying about being rich doesn't make you happy. Something like that. Being rich doesn't make you happy. But my post was like, but I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini.
Oh my God.
Sure.
I mean, that's how I felt inside.
Of course.
And this was in was in sobriety.
2012?
2012, 2013.
Yeah.
I was it was the mecca of this industry. I was doing really well, making really good money. I was young, handsome.
Yeah, you thought you were it.
Huh?
He was the it boy.
And that's when you got humbled.
Oh.
He got humbled as hell.
That's what happens to us all, dog.
You should have seen how they humbled me.
Yeah.
High speed chase in a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Surrounded, whole entire house surrounded by
there goes the neighborhood.
Orange County Sheriff's Department.
And then in the hospital.
Shot with a taser gun from this side and this side at the same time.
Oh, how was that?
It was amazing.
Oh,
even my eyelashes hurt. Oh. It was like I think they all fell out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and he only.
And then you got 5150'd.
No, I didn't. I never been 5150'd.
Yes, you were.
No, never.
You were in the hospital. We visited you in the hospital.
I wasn't 5150'd. No.
Are you sure?
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I think you're too out of your mind to know if you were 5150'd or not. Honestly.
Yeah, I never was 5150'd. Can check that out with Grandma.
I'm gonna ask.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Miss Penny.
I'm gonna text Grandma.
Lambo. He can't be crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Miss Penny. Walk us through it.
Yeah.
Walk us through the experience. Like,
I need to hear all.
Yeah.
This.
So it's actually funny because I was about to go to the bridge 2 years ago when Justin had died. I think it was.
Okay, so you already knew about that this existed.
I knew that it existed. I didn't really know that I was gonna be going there, and I didn't really at the time when I lost Justin. I think I was like, okay, like let me do this, and then I was just I'm not doing it. I can't do it. Started doing meth again, and that was like the last thing that I was thinking about was going to this place. So it's actually funny how it works because they say at the bridge that you go like in your divine timing and you meet the people you're supposed to meet. So obviously if I went 2 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting here today with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I end up going. I didn't know that I was going to be going there. I just kind of asked for help, and wherever I was going, I didn't care. I was happy to go somewhere. And but the bridge ended up where where I was going. And so I flew into Nashville. And the craziest thing, I don't know if it was anxiety or what was happening, but I was throwing up the first 3 days that I was there. I got extremely sick. Like, it was weird. It was like my body knew that I was about to go through this like horrible fucking trauma.
You're, like already detoxing.
Reliving all this shit.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I got there. You have to take a shuttle because it's like a really weird, like, deserted, like middle of the woods area.
It's like some Deliverance shit.
Yeah, I love it.
Like the Ubers don't know how to get there. Like, so yeah. And so the first 2 weeks, so at first I was only staying 2 weeks, and after I did the meditation, I was like, no, I have to stay. Yeah. Like, I have to stay because the next phase they do a grief ceremony. So they kind of prep you the whole first week for the meditation. And so one of the things that was pretty gnarly was sharing your story, and sharing your story from start to finish for an hour.
Oh, wow.
In front of all the people that are in your group. There was a bigger group when I was there, so there was 2 different groups, so only half of them heard it. And for me to be able to trust the people that I was with to tell my story wholeheartedly without lies was really hard for me. Because all I could think about, like, leading up to me telling my story, I remember I was in the tech office and I was talking to Cassie. Shout out to you, Cassie. I was talking to Cassie and I was like, I can't fucking tell these people this shit. What if I've talked about my dad's podcast. What if they leave here and they use it against me? What if they do this? What if the whole world ends up knowing these things that I've done? I cannot tell these people this. And she was like, but you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you.
That a baby Cassie.
To let go, to let go of these things that you've been holding on to that have made you feel the way you were feeling to come here.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me to accept that I'm not going to lie and that I'm going to say these things that I've never said to anybody that I have to say, because that's what's keeping me attached.
Yeah, take the mask off.
Yeah. And so I told my story without lies, and everybody was kind of like,
you're like, damn,
like, you're fucking insane. You're fucking insane. Your family's insane.
yeah.
No. But yeah, it was an experience, but the weight that I felt lifted off my shoulders after letting all this shit go that I've had to hold on to for so long, like, it's just like so like indescribable. And then after that is when you do like the meditation. And so I don't know, just letting go of all those things. And it's kind of like, you know, the 5th step, you admit to yourself and to another human being the exact nature of your wrongs. And in doing that is, I mean, it's pretty indescribable. It really is. And then
did you do sorry to interrupt. What was your experience doing the empty chair work and the hit list?
Oh, I forgot about that.
The chair?
Oh my God.
Wait, what's
so you put people in the chair. So it's kind of weird because I don't like talking to myself.
Well, it's an experience. It's an experiential.
They bring these chairs in front of you. Your phase mates are sitting in the corner. You bring these chairs, however many chairs of the people that you're going to do the hit list on. So you put the chairs in front of you. I think I had.
What's the hit list consist of? What does the hit list
people who've hurt you.
Okay, done you dirty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just people done you dirty or that just hurt you in a way, or just that you never were able to say the things that you wanted to say to them.
That's it.
So I had 5 chairs. Because you can also do not like a person, but like a thing. So I put addiction in the chair.
Oh, okay.
I put addiction in the chair. I put my mom in the chair. I put my dad in the chair, and I put Justin in the chair, and then I put one other person in the chair that will remain nameless.
Wait, did you do them all at once?
I did them all at once.
That's savage.
Yeah, I
Damn.
did them all at once. And they force you to. Oh, they don't force you.
Yeah.
There's no
There's
forcing.
no forcing.
They held a gun to your head and said, "You're gonna do this."
Yeah.
It's all
No.
optional.
Yes. Yeah.
It's optional, but it's recommended.
Yes. It's
So,
suggested.
They have you write out when you I feel statements. So it's
Okay.
like when you da 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 I feel da 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 da. And so obviously with my mom it was pretty self-explanatory. When you left me and chose drugs over me, I felt, ashamed, or like I was worthless, or whatever it was. So you do that, and then you say it to them, and then it's kind of funny. Like it's not funny, but like the therapist is sitting right there and kind of like yelling things out.
Yeah.
while
They're your hype man.
yeah, they're
Oh,
your hype
okay,
man.
yeah.
They're
So
kind
they're
of
like-
coaching you.
And
to,
Julie's like really
Yeah.
intense, so she's like, "It's your shame."
Oh my God. Dude, I'm so into this. Like, that's my vibe.
they're coaxing you.
Yeah.
To, because the it's an uncomfortable thing.
It's
sure.
a really uncomfortable
You're
situation.
trying
Like,
to be
it's all
reserved, and you
fucking-
need some come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
like get it out.
Yeah. So they are very helpful with it, because I mean you can't hold back. Like
Yeah.
there's things where, like I don't want to say, Justin, I'm fucking mad at you that you left me here alone.
Mhm.
Like, that I'm pissed
Mhm.
that like fuck you for taking those drugs,
Mhm.
because like you don't want to say those things about somebody who's dead. Like,
Right,
of
right.
course, but like that's how he made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
I was upset,
Mm-hmm.
like rightfully so. And so I got to say those things that I never, got to say to him, but he was in that chair, and I know he was in that chair.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you do your hit list and you go through each person one by one, you then take a bat. And they have this
A wiffle ball bat.
I love it.
You have these hitting cubes.
and a,
right?
and a cube, and you just fucking hit the shit out of this thing, and you scream whatever they say.
Yeah.
Like, it's your shame. Or,
Yeah.
Or
Fuck
why
you.
did you leave
Why did
me?
you
Why
leave
did you
me?
abandon me? Why?
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of that too is because this is such a emotional experience and it's experiential. You're visualizing the person that you put in the chair. You're having this emotional interaction with them. But then the second part of that with the cube is to actually move this energy.
Release the energy.
Yeah.
To release it, because
Physical.
Yeah, you can talk
Yes.
about it, but then it's like you don't want it to be stagnant.
Yes.
You have to. I mean, did you go buck wild on the cube or what?
Yeah, I thought I was the craziest one. Everybody else was like, "I'm gonna give you the bat for my hit list."
Yeah. And some of your phase mates, they can advocate for you.
Sure.
And say, can I advocate for you? And they're championing you and releasing this, and sometimes they'll do it on your behalf, that can be kind of funny, but
Yeah.
it's but you have this close bond with these people that you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
never gonna tell them my shit.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
then
at
by
first
doing
you're
that,
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
it
like,
bonds you in a
Yeah.
very, very unique
sure.
way.
yeah, because I mean, it's like these people that I met in the woods of Kentucky now know me better and know
Totally.
my deepest shit more than like my own brother does.
Right.
More
That-
than my little sister does.
Mhm.
More than my even maybe closest friends
Sure.
do. Because I don't
Ah,
sit here and
so
talk
good.
about my trauma with my brother
For sure.
or with my friends all the time. You know, my brother knows here and there, my friends know here and there things and whatever. Some know more than others, but like I sat here and poured my entire heart and trauma and soul into these people,
And they get it.
and they get it.
And it teaches
And they
you
don't
how-
judge you.
It teaches
Absolutely.
you how to be appropriate in your life. It's like, okay, well, now I know where to go and share my stuff. It's like I don't have to, obviously you guys have a close connection, but
Right.
I don't have to go share it and spew it on my mom. I don't have to go
Or brother.
spew it on my
you know?
friend or the
Yeah.
barista at
Yeah.
the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Like,
Why not?
Oh, here she
I-
comes.
Oh God, that's her again.
Another one.
I spew
how
it.
are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
I spew it
Don't
all on
ask
my
her.
massage therapist because I figure, they're about the same price as a regular therapist. So I just,
Oh my
I can't.
God.
I'm just
But
playing.
the thing that's funny about what you said is that, I had a similar experience, and in my phase 2, it was just me and one other individual, and it was a woman, and she was it was the first time that I'd learned how to be friends
Sure.
with a woman.
Sure.
You know, there was no anything there. It was a genuine kinship and love. And I remember sharing so much of my details like you did, and I had so much shame and I had so much guilt. And she looked at me and she said, I know every single thing about you, and I know every single thing that you've done. And it does not change the way that I see you. And it does not change the value that I see in you as a person. And that was so freeing, because I felt so badly about myself.
Sure.
And it was like,
dude, they like,
oh my God,
embraced me after I told them the most horrible fucking shit that I've ever done.
You're like, let's go to lunch.
Well,
now.
they're like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you're an amazing human being. Like, I'm like, what?
Well,
I'm like, what?
It kind of brings me to like the 4th and the 5th steps in the program, because like you're sharing a lot of like some deep, dark things with individuals that you are putting trust in to walk you through the steps and like sponsorship, right? That know a lot of things that your family or close people that don't know. And it's like you get the response, obviously in our heads we're saying like, how are they're going to judge us and it's going to be so bad. And 99.9% of the time you get responses of like, oh, that's not that bad. It's like,
I've had sponsors yawn.
Right. Exactly my point. You know, it's like we
like,
put
are
these.
You done yet?
Yeah.
Like
get it. Come on.
Yeah. Like.
Well, I mean, that's
out of your
the
head.
one thing that
You know?
You know, when Aurora said, what if they use it against me? And, you know, you only think that stuff while you're still holding on to secrets. Because now that, I mean, this sounds so I mean, it sounds like a 4th and 5th step on steroids.
Right.
You know, you get to, and we do something similar here. I think we do empty chair here. But I'm like liking getting the energy out after.
Me too.
Really,
it's like
so
a rage room.
It's so important.
It's a rage room.
Really,
like having
really
that physicality.
cool.
I love that.
In that aspect, but the thing is like, you know, if the whole world knew my 4th and 5th step now, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because that was me and my disease. And now you know, most of my deep dark secrets were between the ages of 18 and 23. You know, I haven't continued those bizarre behaviors of shooting meth.
But it's also like, who cares? Because humans
who
are used to judge another human. Like my only judgment is God, and that's it. Because who are you to judge me? Because I hope you're not like, what is that saying? Glass house thing? Like,
don't throw stones if you live in
a
glass
because
house.
we've
and
all
if
had
you have
done
a glass jaw, you better watch your mouth. That's a 50 cent.
50 cent.
Yeah.
Let's get Richard trying. Right?
Yep.
Totally. And also too, for you to even have that weight on your head.
But for me to even be thinking that, like, I was so consumed with fear when I got there.
Of course.
Like, I was so fucking scared.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what it is, though. But that's
But you push.
That's what pain leads us to believe, is that it's scary.
Yes.
And the first time it is. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
The first time walking through something like that, like that, is the scariest thing you're ever gonna do in your life. Everything from here forward.
Walk in the park.
It's a walk in the park in comparison.
But it goes back to that spiritual element that you were talking about earlier. Is, you know, my whole idea was like, you know, I don't know if I should let go of this shit sandwich that I have over here, because I'm not sure that God's gonna have anything better. And like, I had to get to that place where it's like, if there's nothing over here, it's better than what I got.
It's better than a 100%. Shit sandwich.
It's better.
I'm rolling the dice.
I will take nothing.
How long will we eat a shit sandwich?
I will take nothing.
My God.
What I had.
Totally.
You know, but it was like, it's funny. It was like, I'm driving this beat up fucking Yugo.
Yeah.
And there's this brand new Lamborghini. And I'm like, I don't know. But I'm really attached to this thing over here.
Yeah.
It's like, because there's all this comfort.
Yes.
Totally.
There's comfort in the familiarity of the dis-ease and chaos.
Yeah.
Totally
true.
You know, and that, for so many people who've experienced trauma, what they don't realize is that is giving them the illusion of control, because they know what to expect in the spree remorse.
Yeah.
I know exactly what to do when I build up a bright outlook and I tear it down and I scramble frantically to try to reassemble it. I have no idea what to do over here when
Which is
when
scary.
Jesus is taking the wheel. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with the self-driving God car.
I finally feel peace in that.
Me too. I'm
like, it's
please,
crazy.
It's
what
the
a
best.
relief, right?
Like literally.
Yes,
I'm like,
the
okay,
best.
it's in God's hands
Yeah.
now. Like,
I'm like, I got so much more time to do other things.
It was
100%.
it was actually the best experience of my life doing my 4th and 5th step. I finally did an honest and thorough 4th and 5th step. I remember when we were living at Marbella.
mm-hmm.
And you remember how all the bedrooms were downstairs. It was upside down house. So the bedrooms were downstairs. The living and kitchen were upstairs.
Oh, that's funny.
And I remember coming home and just falling on the ground in just utter relief, peace. Like, holy shit, I put down the bag of rocks that I've been carrying.
Mm-hmm.
The 9th step was that for me.
Me too.
You know, and because I had so much shame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I knew the 4th step was nothing for me because I knew the story inside and out.
Yeah.
Now it was difficult to be fearlessly and thoroughly honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the difficult part for me.
But the willingness of the 9th step to go to these people with a spirit of humility and be open to whatever I was going to receive, and to experience the forgiveness that I got from these people.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, that was the God shot, you know, and and that was the thing that I had always balked on because I was always trying to save face.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Can't save your face and your ass at the same time.
No, and that was that thing for me, you know, because it required me to be honest, and I was one of those people that was like suffered from getting a pass most of my life. They're like, oh, we know you're a good guy, or oh, we like you.
Yeah.
And it was like, let me just stop you right there. Like, I fucked up. I was wrong, and it wasn't okay. And how do I make it right? And not only that, but this is what I did.
Yeah.
That shit was like,
well, to go on even further was when I did mine, there were some individuals where I'm like, still like, fuck you, I better get an apology back. And my sponsor's like, no, that's not the shakedown.
No.
Like, so walking into doing, like, you know, obviously doing it, making her proofread it, doing all the things to make sure, like, I'm ready to go in to do this. And to walk in and to not have any expectations from that other individual was the thing that hit me the most, because I truly was going to deliver something and make right something that I did. Nothing about them. Nothing if they did anything
the other person
at
entirely.
all. Nothing. It had nothing to do with them. And to me, that was like the biggest whoa moment, because it was only that and nothing more.
Yeah.
Zero expectations, just taking care of like my wrongs. That's all.
Yeah.
And that was like eye opening.
Hopefully that's where we start to realize that our hula hoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the only side of the street that matters is mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's always me.
Always. I'm the problem.
Yeah, I mean that is, but it's
I'm not the victim.
I'm the problem.
It's such a gift. And, you know, I was telling a sponsee earlier today that, you know, obviously, you know, yes, I get resentful at other people.
Of course.
But more often than not, I'm resentful at myself for either putting myself in that position or allowing myself to be so affected.
Totally.
You know, and then it just brings it back to me, not in a self-centered, selfish way, but in a, what do I need to do to be better?
And also, what is going on in my current life that is making me have this like weird resentment all of a sudden? So it's like you're having to do this like internal work, which I think is like awesome.
And that's even the thing at the Bridge is like so many people's narrative is that it's everything that these other people did to me. You know, and it's like, yeah, well, I mean, people do things to me all the time, every day, and I'm either going to be a victim of that, and I'm going to be a prisoner. Not a victim. I don't like to use that word. I can either be a prisoner of that, or I can be free from it.
Totally.
And see that they're not doing this to me. They are simply doing what they do. Like your mom didn't do what she did to you. Yeah. My dad didn't do what he did. She just did what they fucking do.
And that was a big thing learning at the Bridge. They show this, is it John Bradshaw?
It's the John Bradshaw shame video.
Yeah, the John Bradshaw shame videos.
Feeling the shame that binds you. It's
a
relic.
really
but it's
amazing video. Shout out to John Bradshaw. I don't know if he's still alive.
I'm pretty sure John's dead as a doornail.
Let's Wikipedia him.
We're going to fact check that.
But John Bradshaw, this video is like what, from the 80s, the 70s?
Like, yeah, maybe the year I was born, like 81, maybe.
It's a really old video. It's surprising that they were even able to have it. I think they have a CD of it. It's a very old video.
Right next to Charlie Chaplin video.
Oh, wow. I'm like, Jesus.
It's
like right next to the...
Yeah.
It's a seminar thing that he was doing on shame and on healing shame and on what also healthy shame, and something that I think we also have to look at too is like what you're saying is like my mom is also a human, and that's something I had to realize that this is her first time living too, and my mom like didn't have it easy either. Her mom was an addict and her dad killed himself when she was 14 years old.
Right.
And so she was holding on to
met me.
Yeah, probably worse. No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what's funny?
But that's what, she had all that pain stored inside of her, and she didn't have the tools to get through what she went through. And so I, have to realize that like, yeah, exactly. She didn't do what she did to hurt me intentionally, but what she did affected me, of course.
Right.
But she had trauma and shame that she couldn't let go of.
And it allows you to have a little bit of empathy and compassion towards her because she is a human.
Yeah.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
John Bradshaw has one of the best definitions of addiction that I've ever heard. And I turned my phone off, or I'd look it up, but I believe it's addiction is a
Emily, can you look it up?
Yeah. Addiction is a pathological relationship to any life-altering experience that has devastating consequences. We can stop now.
Yeah.
Yeah. See you guys.
See ya.
Mic drop.
Yeah. A pathological relationship to any life-altering experience with devastating consequences. That could be a substance. That could be a person. That could be a thing. That could be a belief.
Yep.
Anything. It's like we're so caught up in the thing that it's like, oh, it's the substance. It's like, dude, like the substance is
the
like
substance was our solution.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what he says in
the substance was our solution.
By the time I've gotten to the substance, the addiction has me by the throat so hard that I'm gasping for air.
Totally.
Well, that's what I really like about the Bridge, man. Because here's the thing: the reason why we ended up calling this podcast the Hopeaholics is because we didn't want to be stuck in addiction. And this was a God-given name because I couldn't come up with the name. I was like, going through all these things. One of the original names was a dictionary.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, that was my first choice, to be honest with you, a dictionary.
This is way better.
But here's the weird thing. So my ex-wife, Kelly, we always had done Got Hope sweatshirts for the clients since we started Hope by the Sea in 2002. Just like all the time, Got Hope, right? And one year she was like, I'm so sick of Got Hope. And this was like in 2012. She's like, let's do a sweatshirt called the Hopeaholics. And I was like, okay, cool. Fast forward to the podcast, a dictionary was taken, and I'm just like running around the house like, what am I going to call it now? I was all upset. I was all upset.
Jeez, God, you take everything.
I was all upset, and I open up my closet,
wow.
And there's the fucking sweatshirt from 2012, and it says Hopeaholics on it.
Boom.
And I was like, that's it. I grabbed my phone. It was the Instagram was available. The freaking the URL was available on GoDaddy, and I was like, bam,
GoDaddy.
Stole it.
When I'm bored, I will buy just random domains.
Oh man, I have too many in my in
GoDaddy.
like our web guy.
Hey guys, should we get this one?
Our web guy Chuck was like, our web guy Chuck was like, because we have this software stuff coming out, and he was like, is this the one? And I was like, no, that's not the one.
That's one of 20.
Yeah. I bought like 20 different things for it.
They got great deals.
Oh yeah. And you got to be careful though, because they try to trick you into buying some extra stuff. And be careful buying them .AIs, because those things are like $200 a pop.
Yeah, no.
I do have a few.
Jesus.
You know, you never know. You never know when I'm going to be in the AI business. Could be soon.
Maybe.
Yeah, might be.
I'm really excited. I'm excited for you. I'm glad that like you, you know, were able to go to a place like your facility. I'm excited to attend. I don't care what you say.
You have to go. Dad, you have to go, Dad.
I just I'm all about it.
Like literally you have to go. I think one of the biggest things for me, besides the inner child meditation, was the grief ceremony.
Sure.
The grief ceremony.
Which you did in phase 2.
Yes.
Right.
It's pretty much, it's kind of like they do the grief ceremony and then they're like, bye.
See ya here. Go fly.
What the fuck?
No, that's not what we did. That was her story. No.
Yeah.
No, it's not like you just leave right after, but it's like you leave like a week after if you stay for only 4 weeks. Right. But they do the grief ceremony and they set up a whole thing for you and you write it out. And I did a mix of a grief letter and also an amends letter to Justin because there was definitely a lot. Because like I said, like I have a lot of guilt for a lot of the way certain things went down in my relationship with him. And obviously I never got to make an in-person amends to him. And so I did the grief letter and I mixed it in with the amends letter, and then you have to read it in front of your group. But they printed out pictures of him for me so I could kind of set it up on the chair so it looked like, you know, he was there. And it was super crazy because when I was doing it, the lights turned off. Like while I was reading this grief letter to him, which was kind of weird. Like, why are the lights turning off right now?
That's what happens sometimes, you know?
Yeah, it was weird. And
keep going.
And then they choose a song for you. And like, I don't know, Kelly, the therapist Kelly, he's like just so good at choosing these songs because I was like, he just had me bawling. But like, that was the one time, like, and everybody knows there that like I don't cry unless I'm talking about Justin. Sure. Like that's the only thing that would make me cry when I was there. And during that ceremony, it was like a cry, like, but like a scream, like almost like how I was like when I first lost Justin, like this. But it's almost like that. It's also like a release of energy. Yeah. This like scream, cry, and you're just like, I can't even really explain it. But and then the night before you do leave, they do a bonfire where you can kind of like burn certain things and like let go of things in a way. And they also did another exercise where they burn it for you, where you write things that you want to let go of. And I asked God to let go of everything that didn't serve me anymore, to let go of my attachments to certain things and people that didn't fit me anymore, to let go of holding on to Justin, because like of course I'll always represent him and say his name, and this podcast is obviously for him, but I kept an attachment that didn't let me live my life and kept me stuck in this really horrible vicious cycle of misery. And I didn't want to live that way anymore, and I had to let go of that misery and that guilt and that fear and that shame that I had from Justin. And it's really life-changing. Obviously. Obviously I'm proof of this, everyone.
Sure. I think I love what the most is that the bridge is all about, like, it's not saying like, of course people go through trauma, right? But it's like, what are we going to do about it? You know? And that's what it's like, you move on.
It happened to me.
Yep.
Now what?
Exactly. And that's
what am I going to do?
That's where like the magic sauce is at, because it's like you can either allow it to run your life and stay miserable, or we can move.
Well, it's very empowering.
It is.
It's like the healing is an empowering experience
For sure.
to restore our agency, to define our lives and live the way that we deserve to live, you know?
Yeah.
Amen. I'm coming to the ridge.
I mean, the addiction, mental health, trauma, when you do the work, it's like the only dis-ease, if you will, that we come out better.
It works if you work it.
Than we were before. You know, you don't get to.
Oh yeah.
You don't get to have diabetes and be better. Well, that's not true. You can get really fit and, and eat right. And I take that back. But it's
I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Living amends, man. I like that they do that. When you don't have that, you know how in the 12 steps, and I forget what they call it, because the ninth step is we make amends wherever possible,
right.
except when to do so would injure them or others, right? Or in the case like this, somebody has died, and then what we do then is living amends, right? Because the whole point of like the ninth step is that we have actually, before we go make that amends, we've completely changed that behavior. We're not going there to say, I'm sorry and I'm going to do this again to you or to anybody else. So I hope that what you gained from your experience there is the things that happened that made you feel shame in your relationship with Justin, that you have worked through those and that those are truly gone, so that when the next amazing human being comes into your life, gets to experience the real love and the real loving human being that I know you are.
And healthy.
As a father, because I don't think that anybody truly knows the extent that a parent loves a child. You know, I know that people can love deeply without ever having children, but the love that you have for a child is so different than any other love.
Yeah.
And it's pure love.
And they are always your babies.
Always.
Forever.
Mine is 26.
Yeah.
He is always a baby.
I am 40, and I FaceTime my parents every single day. I'm 40 years old and live on my own.
Both of them. Well, Cooper's still on my when he calls me. It's him when he was like 3 years old on a skateboard ramp. I changed yours when you got a new phone number, so it's a picture of me and you out front of our old house over here.
No. Oh hell no.
With blonde hair. No, I'm just
kidding.
No,
that's cap. With those big ass hoops.
Yeah.
Hell no.
I still like hoops, so.
No, girl, my hoops were the size of your head.
But man, this was an amazing podcast.
Incredible. Incredible.
Thank you.
It's absolutely.
I really hope that you guys get going.
I'm going.
The bridge. You have to force him to go.
He'll go.
If we're paying for it, you might as well.
See?
I know.
You know?
I do want to say that Emily put together some really quick, really good notes about you, and I just want to read some of them before. You don't have to answer any questions.
He's gonna just,
So you were born June 16th, 1981 in Nashville, Tennessee. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay. You are son of casting director. I'm not even gonna. Larae
Mayfield. Not only am I her son and is she a casting director, but she is an Emmy award-winning casting director. She is the casting director. She's the most talented person in that regard I've ever met.
This is your mom.
She is and was mom and dad.
Okay.
Is that why you have her last name?
Well, that's my last name. Yeah.
But yes. But it says and musician Randy Parton.
Oh, you're looking on some Wikipedia shit, huh? Yeah.
That true as well?
Randy was my father, yeah, and
wow.
Randy was the brother of Dolly, which is a fun fact that people find. Yeah.
That's a huge fact. Dolly Parton's dope.
She's my aunt, and we've had the privilege of making some great records together. We did a record. Awesome. She had a new album come out called Smoky Mountain DNA, which was #1 on the Billboard Bluegrass charts, and the song that we did together, Holy Water, It's like a country hip hop remix. Got a nice
That's
little
awesome.
That is so sick.
piece in Rolling Stone, which is cool.
So there's something about a remix of Dolly Parton's 9 to 5.
Called 9 to 5 to 9.
Shut up. Oh my
How
God.
do we find that?
Yeah, I was just playing it. Dude, I was just playing 9 to 5
Music?
in the van when I was driving all the clients.
Because you guys have to understand, like I'm of the era of Dolly Parton.
Dude, I have Dolly's from that she has like
old
little
man.
There are people who are unaware that 9 to 5 was a movie.
Yeah.
Wow,
One of my
that's sad.
favorite with Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. So
Was Burt in it? Yeah,
no,
Burt.
no.
Who was the
No.
who was the other guy?
The other guy plays the boss, but you can listen to all those songs on Spotify.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
My
I'm
artist
doing this.
profiles are pretty flushed out. So yeah, you
Working
Is it
9
under
to
your name,
5.
Sabyn?
Is it
Way
under
to
your-
make a
people are always
living.
like,
How do
people
you
were
think?
like, what was your music
listening
name?
to
I'm
me?
like, Sabyn. Like, what,
Yeah, you're
what
like-
else? What else would it have
I
been?
feel like it's my name.
Like, yeah, what's better than that? Like,
Yeah.
you know, when you're a kid, having a unique name's not great. But
Yeah,
when you're an
yeah,
adult,
for sure.
people are
I feel
like,
that.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
amazing.
for sure. I don't even think I pronounced your name.
Ahora.
I'm not
Right.
gonna.
That's what they used to say when I was like in
Wow.
fucking 5th grade.
Terrible.
Kids are awful.
For
Her,
real.
Her older sister couldn't say her R's, and she was a tattletale when she was little. And she
asshole.
was wild. She would just, I remember her sister Savannah, she'd come running in and she would go, "A was wanting around the womb."
Whoa.
I will say that I had zero part in the naming of her, except
did.
for her last name.
Yeah, but it's one of the
Right.
goddesses.
I
Princess too.
So it's
the day she was born, I was shooting meth with Chicano gang members in La Puente, California.
In a Lamborghini?
No,
No,
I
he
was
did
bro-
not
I
have
was
no
really
fucking
broke.
Lamborghini at that
Broke.
time.
yeah.
Trying
Didn't
to
even have a car.
trying to
He
hu-
was
try-
not doing it then.
trying to hustle a dime bag.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
I had negative 200. I had I think I had negative $400 in my bank account because remember the old ATMs.
I remember those days.
Oh my God,
You
me
used to be able
too.
to
Overdraft.
You can
Oh yeah,
overdraft,
I would stick in a fake envelope and be like, oh shit, I forgot to put the check in, and then I'd pull out extra money
Oh, dude,
because you could
totally,
take half
yeah.
of the
Yeah.
check
Yes.
that you just deposited.
Oh yeah.
So that was my life the day she was born.
Yeah, I get it.
But the day she was born, my life changed forever.
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 So did mine.
Aw.
Everything that
Yep.
everything that you see, everything here, everything exists because she was born. And that's a fact. I always say that she's my angel. You know, she was what I need. I had a moment of clarity sitting at a bar with killers. Real, not guys that want to be, wannabes like me. Real.
Right.
Real ones.
Yeah.
And I smoked some pot with them that day. And I got
Not
and
good.
I don't do
Yeah,
that.
Not good.
Yeah, I got paranoid. I started looking around at them, and I was looking at each one of them, and I was like,
What am
"These
I doing?
motherfuckers are gonna kill me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went outside.
Some training day shit, right?
Yeah,
and
for real.
I went outside, and I had one of those Motorola flip phones, this kind of smaller one.
Yeah.
Called my mom, and she answered the phone, and she was crying. And I said, "Why are you crying?" She said, "You just had a little baby girl." And it was right there in that moment that I had just that mustard seed
Yep.
of hope that I could do it again.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at today. You know, it's not been a perfect ride. It's been
The
been a
exact-
ride.
It's been
Yeah.
the exact ride that was needed to be in
So
this
thank
exact
you.
moment.
Thank you for what you
yeah.
do.
Thank you
Yeah.
very
Thank
much.
you guys
It's
for everything
so,
you're doing.
it's-
And thank you for
so
carrying the
important.
message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what it's about.
The
Great
braid,
I love
job.
the
it.
braid saved me.
Yeah.
It changed my
Totally.
entire trajectory
Yes.
of my life.
There's
Like, literally.
at least three people in this room who that happened for.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's incredible.
4 people.
Four
sorry.
people.
Yeah.
Well, we're going. I've said it 700 times, so it's.
They're
I'm
going.
I'm putting it out.
They're
yeah.
going, everyone.
And you're the money man, so it's. I mean, it's for free.
What do you mean I'm the money man?
Meaning, like,
You can take some
not
time
only
off.
how much does it cost?
could take a week
actually,
off.
In this scenario, I'm the money man.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay.
Okay.
You're off the hook this time.
Yeah.
For once in his life.
Yeah, for
he's
real.
up.
I will say that but she doesn't fly coach, so I guess I'm gonna.
Wow.
I guess
dirty.
I'm gonna be in the back.
Dirty.
Guess I'm gonna be in the back of the bus.
Yeah, we do not cover airfare. Thank you.
Back to the money, man.
Oh,
Thank
good
you so
times,
much.
man. Good times. Thank
Yeah.
you.